And it was wild because you have a live audience there, right? So you're taping in front of a live audience. So you get that feeling of performing just like in theater. You're getting real-time reactions from the audience. You're getting applause. So it was really, really rewarding. We don't really make shows like that anymore. Those 3-4 camera shows in front of live audiences are very rare today. But back in the 90s, that's how we did them.
Hi, I'm Stacey Jackson.
And I'm Roy Bassnett.
Join us for the Gen-X-Perience podcast every other week.
So if you were born between 1965 and 1980, that makes you a Gen Xer. And that being the case, that makes this podcast for you.
We are interviewing the most amazing people from all over the world in all walks of life, discussing culture, music, and politics.
The range is incredible. You're going to get to hear some wonderful stories.
So join us every other week for the Gen-X-Perience podcast. I'm Stacey Jackson.
And I'm Roy Bassnett. Welcome back to another podcast of the Gen-X-Perience. I'm having difficulty saying that, you know.
Why? Because it's new?
I don't know, it's a new word, I suppose you could say. I'm Roy Bassnett, and that is...
Stacey Jackson.
There she is. Now, this is another one of those episodes. If you're new to what we're doing here, we basically take a look at things that happened in the 1980s with people who were there. And it's not necessarily always going to be the case of people who were there, because if you seem to remember when we had our very first quiz, that you and I, that were from the period, the 1980s, were beaten in the quiz by Laura, the producer, who didn't exist in the 1980s.
I know, but
so
she's very trivia-centric, this one. She knows things that people just don't know.
I know. A lot of youngsters are like that. How many times, I bet you've done it with your kids and you're in the house and you think, you know, there'll be a quiz comes on and there might be something in 1980 and you go, how do you know that? How do you know that piece of music?
Freaking TikTok.
Is it?
They keep, yes, you know, the 80s is so on trend right now, right? It's not just about, you know, us living in it, but it's just so on trend. That's why we're doing this. I mean, obviously we're doing this for many reasons, but the fact that, you know, people are so inquisitive about what went on in the 80s. And there's a lot of TV shows that are happening in the 80s. A lot of the music is influenced by the 80s. You know, it's a huge deal. And so we decided to take this and sort of expand on the 80s and into sort of like the audience that we have, which would be the Generation X audience, and talk about not just music from the 80s, but movies, culture, fashion, you know, just everything that, you know, that happened in the 80s and the experience growing up in that time and how it influenced us to become who we are today. Our next guest, obviously, is a perfect example of that.
Oh, yeah. Well, right. Okay. It is guest time.
I guess so. I opened the door. You may as well.
Yeah. And I've got to say, you know, since you brought up the subject of the 1980s fashion, it's great that you're still wearing it. Now,
you have nothing. Hang
on. I need to address something before we speak to the guest. I'm really excited about speaking to the guest. But if we remember from episode 1, I actually put the headband on. Oh no, we're not doing the headband yet, are we?
Well,
You're not prepared to put the headband on.
No, I don't want to ruin the hair. I'm barely going to hold the ear things on my head. No, I'm just kidding. I could put the headband on.
Can we have the headbands?
Oh, right. He's making me wear the headband.
I was forced to wear the headbands.
Well,
right.
And yes, you were. Yeah, but my headband back in the day, other than these are ones that you wear in the gym, you know. But I was really into like Def Leppard and, you know.
Did they wear headbands?
Yeah, Axl Rose. And,
right.
You know, they wore the one that you like tied around your head, like bandana. This is more like what you get when you're like, you know, this is more like, let's get physical.
Oh, look at this. Look at this.
There you go.
Yeah. That certainly looks better than when I did it.
What do you think? Yeah, I know. Rock the headband, right?
You epitomize. You look just like Jane Fonda. You know. Do you know what? It actually suits you. And I've got to say, I think that's a look that you should maintain.
For those of you who are only listening, I just flipped in the bird.
Okay. Well, listen. We can get the opinions of our guests because it's time for you.
Yes, we can, because you knew me back in the day. So, are you going to introduce this guy or am I?
Oh, you know him. He's your buddy. Let's have it. So,
yes, he is my buddy. So, our next guest, and I'm going to put the headband and the earphones on.
Okay.
So that I can hear our next guest, who's joining us by Zoom. He's a dear friend of mine. We've known each other since we were like 12.
Okay.
We went to high school together. We were in the school play together. We went to prom together. He is absolutely wonderful, gorgeous inside and out, super talented actor and producer. I suspect one of his claims to fame, although he has many claims to fame now under his belt, but his first foray was late 80s, early 90s, was the sitcom, I don't know if you got it over here, but Full House. He played a recurring character called Viper, the boyfriend of one of the lead characters for, I don't know, 2 seasons maybe. But on that note, I'm going to introduce David Lipper.
Let's have it. Yes. David, are you with us?
Hi.
Okay, David, should I take this thing off my
I want David's opinion.
I'm having flashbacks to the 80s and my memory of you then.
Yeah. He's near to tears there looking at you.
Yeah,
I can see it. He's very emotional about your look.
At least
it's a giant flashback for me to what we all used to look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did.
I had hair similar to that.
Yes, you did. You had long, big hair. You did. In fact,
lot of hair. I wish I had some of it now.
You still have hair. Look at my friend over there.
That's me.
Yeah, he needs a little help. Yeah. You can abuse the hair.
Yes.
This is really good for my mental state. He needs a lot of help.
I'm sorry. You don't make me feel bad.
You Canadian people know how to hurt. Go on, you carry on.
Come on. We are the nicest people. If you ask anyone...
We really are.
If you ask what passport would you want to hold? Like what's like you can travel anywhere. What's the passport everyone would say, I'd want to be a Canadian. I feel proud. I really do. And I have an American passport too. So does David, and a British one.
Okay.
And
I don't have the British one.
It used to be fun when you were able to be part of the EU, but now it doesn't help. I'm very, very proud to be a Canadian.
Okay. Well, let's listen.
David.
Well, listen. Let's get into it, David. If I can just interject there, because we want to obviously talk about your career, my favorite genre of movies, horror movies and stuff. But let's go about, this was mentioned, Stacey mentioned the prom, right? Okay. Am I right in assuming that you were her prom date? Tell us about that night, and are you still mentally scarred by it?
I don't remember it. It was in the 80s. So it was a long time ago. But all I can tell you is I have looked at pictures of it, and Stacey looked beautiful, and I had a horrible mullet at the time. So I definitely made the picture much worse.
Stop.
But
you're so kind.
But we were a cute couple, I would say, for prom. And, again, it's hard to remember the 80s at this age. But all I can say is we had big hair. Both of us had big hair. And I don't know, Stacey, what else can we say about it?
I don't know. I told Roy that I wish I had taken stock out on Elnet or something. I'd be a billionaire by now. The amount of hairspray we used back then was I probably went through a can a day.
We destroyed the ozone layer. Yeah.
Yes, it's Gen X are responsible for that. 100%.
That's right.
Can I ask, let the prom then? So, they've started doing it. Youngsters in this country actually do that. It wasn't the case when I was at school. Said, what's the protocol? Was it a case that you had to have a date to go to the prom? What happened school prom back in the day?
I don't know that it's any different. It's generally you try and go with a date to the prom, and there's a dance of sorts. And then it goes on and you end up at somebody's house. And then we ended up, I think, at the mountain at sunrise. Yeah. Montreal's got a beautiful mountain park called Beaver Lake. I think we ended up there, and that's about as much as I can remember, to be quite honest.
Okay. I feel as though that you made some impression on him there. Perhaps maybe.
I remember he came to the house. We were with a group of friends in a big limo, and he brought me a corsage. In a box, really cute. And we went to the prom was at the Hotel Bonaventure, if I recall. I
didn't even remember that. There you go. God, does that even still exist, the Bonaventure?
I don't know. I don't know. It was too long ago.
Well, listen. We can, you could reminisce all night here. But the big thing for me, David, if we may, is to talk about your career now. I've never seen an episode of Full House because I'm sure that there probably is a channel somewhere in this country that might show it. But tell us
Netflix.
Sorry,
Netflix.
My daughter just watched it on Netflix.
Okay, right. Well, tell us about that program. And In fact, before we get there, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Tell us a little bit about how post-prom you managed to get yourself involved in television and film.
You know, obviously going back to high school, I was always doing theater. Like the show I did with Stacey, we did Pippin together. Actually, that I remember very well.
Me too.
But I ended up getting a degree in musical theater at Emerson College, and then I moved to LA right after. And it really was just, let's give it a shot and see what happens. I knew one guy from theater camp who was a casting director who got me an audition for a sitcom called Step by Step, which was a Warner Brothers ABC sitcom. It was actually a company called Lorimar, which became part of Warner Brothers. And that's what happened. They all of a sudden they went crazy. They're like, "Who's this kid?" And I got on a list, and they said, "You know, we're going to put you up for all our shows." And Step by Step didn't happen. It was I came down to the wire. It came down to me and Sasha Mitchell for this part. But what that did was I had to do a contract for the show. When it comes down to two people, you both sign contracts, and then they make a choice, and the deal's already done. So it was very close. But because of that, it opened the store. And so Les Moonves, who was the president of Warner Brothers at the time, he gave me my own show right after that. It was called Reality Check, which is actually out on YouTube. The pilot episode starred me, and then Giovanni Ribisi, this little actress known as Hilary Swank. May have won 2 Oscars. Wow. And then my little sister was played by Kaylee Coco. And the writers and producers had another pilot going at the same time, this little show that didn't go anywhere called Friends. And
wow.
Yeah, it's just weird how you could have been on that show, but they put you on your own show. And anyway, so a lot of people became really, really famous who were involved in this pilot with me. And for me, it was just a weird progression that what they ended up doing with me is they put me on Full House. And so when that show didn't work out, they developed another show for me that didn't go. But basically they said, "We're going to put you on our hit show, Full House." I said, okay. Unfortunately, that was season 8, which became the last season. You know, in our deal, I was supposed to be the ongoing boyfriend that would have carried through to the next season. And there was this final episode of DJ's Choice where I had broken up with her, and then I wanted her back, and I wrote a song for her. And this guy, Nelson, who had a lot of money, tried to get back in there and date her again. And so then I decided I wanted her back, and we fought over her. And this was the episode known as DJ's Choice. And so the big reveal at the end of the episode was supposed to be who she was going to end up with. To me, they were saying it would have been me. But what happened was the show got canceled. And so she picked nobody. Sorry for the spoiler alert. But that's what happened in season 8. And so that was the end of the show. Although imagine my surprise when I got a phone call 20 years later from John Stamos saying, "Hey, the show's back." I'm like, "Huh?
Really?
And do you want to do another episode?" I was like, "Yeah." And so I did a couple of episodes of the Fuller House. And it's weird. I got to be on 2 series finales. I came to 2 series rap parties for the same show. Anyway, it's wild. That almost never happens, but it happened on this show, and it was a lot of fun. It was a big, giant flashback for me to come back to the show. The same door to the same house and the same studio.
So cool.
Stage at Warner Brothers.
You played this sort of bad boy musician guy, right? Viper. Yeah. I remember back in high school, you were a musical theater. You were an incredible voice. You played guitar. You were really, and we were in bands, not together, but different bands. And so did you take any of the musical side through at all? Like, did any of the influences from the 80s at all influence you moving forward from a musical, perspective?
Well, that was the beauty of Full House, which was I got to do music on the show. I was in the band on the show. My character was in the band with John Stamos. And I actually have made more money on the music royalties on the songs that I wrote on the show than on the acting royalties. It's funny. I played Paul Anka in a movie called The Annette Funicello Story. I found out, in researching him, he made more money on the Tonight Show theme than all his hit songs put together. Yeah. So, back in the day when network television was really 3-4 channels, still networks are 3-4 channels, but there weren't all these cable channels. And now, TV's in a whole world of pain. That's a whole other conversation. But in those early days, you had a lot of eyeballs on a show, especially a hit show on a network. So the residuals were enormous, and the music residuals really big as well. So anyway, so I got to do music on Full House. And it was wild because you have a live audience there, right? So you're taping in front of the live audience. So you get that feeling of performing just like in theater. What we would do is we would rehearse all week. And then on Fridays, we would tape in front of a live audience and we'd run the show twice. You're basically doing theater. You're getting real-time reactions from the audience. You're getting applause. So it was really, really rewarding. We don't really make shows like that anymore. Those 3-4 camera shows in front of live audiences are very rare today. Yeah. But back in the 90s, that's how we did them. So I had a lot of fun on Full House.
David, I'm going to ask you, because there are so many questions that we could put you. There's a lot of gaps that we're going to leave in our conversation about your career. But the big thing about you now is you are almost becoming synonymous with the horror genre. Was that something that was always on the back burner in your mind, or was it something that just materialized?
Just to interject, you know, today specifically, so like
the time of recording.
Of the time of recording this, it happens to be the 40th anniversary of Freddy Krueger.
Oh, right. Not know that.
Wow.
All right. Wow. That just made me feel really old just now. Okay.
Sorry to interject there. But anyways, you had a really good question.
So, tell us about how
tell us about all that influence.
Look, I've always loved horror movies, but really this happened in like 2016. A friend of mine, he had been nominated for a short film for an Oscar, was a promising director and went through his own stuff. And he kind of said, hey, let's do a movie together. Let's write it together. Let's make it together. I'll direct it. You star in it. And that was really the genesis of what became now a big producing career. So we wrote this script together called The Unwilling. For us, it was just the most common sense of how do we put a movie together that we can do for not very much money is a horror movie, right? How do we get away with budget concerns and time concerns and everything else? So what we did is we wrote this movie called The Unwilling, which has done really, really well. You can find it on YouTube at this point. And I think we have over 6 million views on one of those movie channels. You know, and we just said a horror movie would be easiest. And then I love morality tales. What I love about horror movies is there's always a clear theme. There's always a clear moral to the story. Be careful what you open. Be careful of whatever it is. You know, it's a warning to us to rethink certain things in our lives. And I love that element of the horror movies. It's not about the scares. And I love also finding humor in horror movies. So to me, if you make a really fun, good horror movie, there's going to be a lot of comedy in it, which is the ones I've directed have a lot of that. But again, it's that morality tale that I love so much about good horror movies. So we did that with The Unwilling. In this case, it was be careful what box you open. This mysterious box that appears at the reading of a will. And we just had so much fun with it. You know, Jonathan, he got to direct it and I got to star in it. And I wrote the characters, especially my character, David. I always call my characters David on the scripts I write, which is funny.
Very original.
If you see A Christmas Letter, I called myself David as well, which is a Christmas movie that's done very well that I wrote and starred in. Yeah, the idea was let's, write some stuff, that I can really develop a character that I want to play, that has all the obstacles that you want as an actor. It's something actors need to choose when it's not on the page, but how much easier when it's on the page. So I created a character who had agoraphobia and had OCD, and all of these are mental and physical challenges that make it difficult to achieve your objective. And that's always really good for an actor, to give himself obstacles to make the quest more difficult, so it's more rewarding when you win at the end. And so that was really the start of it. And then, somebody called me, my friend Ivo Raza, who had directed me in a film a long time ago, said, "Hey, I've got this movie called Reboot Camp, and I want you to star in it. And do you want to produce it?" And I said, "Sure." And then I put that one together. And then my first film that I directed, Deathlink, was a horror film. Once again, because I said, if I'm going to direct something, it's got to be a genre I understand and a script I think I can pull off with a certain budget range. And of course, the pandemic broke out in the middle of my movie. And somehow I finished this movie with half a crew, no stunt people, and just choreographed the stunts myself and got it done. And what was a 16-day shoot became an 11-day shoot. And then I went, I can shoot during a pandemic. So I shot 5 during the pandemic period of lockdowns and pre-vaccine, including that Christmas movie. And all of a sudden I was a producer. And that's where things really took a turn because Bobby Daly offered me an opportunity to partner up with him. And we created Latigo Films in the fourth quarter of 2021. And we've made 19 movies ever since then.
Wow.
So Bobby really brought me to the next level, and we signed with CAA. And
that's a very big deal. I'm so proud of you, David. I'm overwhelmed with like your journey. It's just incredible. And I wanted to ask you. I was going to ask about you brought up Reboot Camp, but about the films now
with
in
Stacey
terms of
Jackson,
with Stacey Jackson, who did a little bit of it.
Yeah, I've seen it where you sing it. And the other thing about Boot Camp is, of course, you had the incredibly talented Ja Rule in it.
Ja Rule, yeah, it was but it was great. But in
a lot of great names in
keeping
there.
with the nostalgic question here, you play a French Canadian guru, right?
Gordon St. Pierre at your service.
Exactly. And so, what is your secret to balancing your nostalgic roots with the films that you're producing and directing now? Like, what is there anything in specific, like you said, you like to call your characters David. Okay, great. But like, is there anything specifically, nostalgic? Like, I know with me, when I'm writing a song, I like to pull up on my influences from the 80s. That's the, sort of what inspires me. Is there something from your past or from your journey that you always like to take with you in your work?
I mean, look, I grew up loving the John Landis movies, big fan of those things like Animal House and Blues Brothers and Coming to America with Eddie Murphy and Trading Places. And
not to forget Michael Jackson's Thriller. He made that a scene.
Thriller, yes, they did the Thriller video. That's right. Mm-hmm. So, and George Folsey, funny enough, ended up becoming my editor and edited the films I directed. I've always had that influence of comedy with action and some violence and you can't quite make movies like that anymore, but those were the kinds of movies that influenced me. So when I made Murder at Hollow Creek, which was the third movie I directed, which came out in August with Mickey Rourke and Jason Patric, Dan Miller, who's brilliant in it, Paul Ben Victor, that movie, it shows. So it started as simply an action thriller. And I said, it's an action thriller comedy. And the writer went, huh? It's not a comedy. I'm like, it is now. And we just did all kinds of ad-lib hysterics. And we won 3 Best Comedy Awards at 3 different film festivals. So it just shows you that's where my influence comes in. And especially growing up as a sitcom guy, I can't quite take the comedy out. It's just too much fun and everything's too damn serious these days. Mm. So I just feel like, if we can poke fun at things a little, that's just my natural disposition. So that's kind of what I like to do. So yes, I've been heavily influenced by the 80s, as I'm sure you have, Stacey. And if I go back to film-wise, like I said, John Landis was a very big influence for me.
Right. Okay. Now, 80s, because at the end of the day, we get people's stories on this podcast, but we also like to kind of wax lyrical about the 80s. We also like to put our guests under pressure by asking them questions from the 1980s. So how's your mind working this evening? Do you think you can do a bit of memory recall from the decade?
Luckily, it's not evening for him because he's 8 hours behind us. So he still has I'm the one that's faltering. You're having lunch.
Oh, right. Okay.
Okay.
So Stacey is going to pull, I'll pull 2 cards out.
Yeah.
Right. And you pull 2 cards out and you get a total of 4 questions that we're going to ask you,
But they're random. We're pulling cards out from the top of the deck and we don't know what's on the bottom. We don't know what it is. It's just 80s trivia and you just have to get best 2 out of 3.
Right. Basically. Well, there's 4 in total. If you get 4 out of 4, then you really are an aficionado of the 80s. So do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. This is where I have to put the glasses on. Hold on.
With the headband and everything.
With the headband and the earphones.
God. You look like you should be at Woodstock.
A lot of accoutrement happening here.
Okay. Which charity group's first single sold 3.5 million copies?
Charity group? I don't even know what that is. Like a band that's a charity band?
Something like, I can think of an obvious one here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Charity band.
It's
a band that...
Remember, this is the 80s. The 80s.
Like all their profits went to charity kind of thing?
Yes.
Is that what that means?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that. I don't know a charity band.
Yes, you do.
I do.
Are we right? If we're given a clue,
give me a hint?
assuming this is
In
a
fact,
collective.
you've actually said the word a few times. In fact, should I tell you? Should I give you a hint?
That's not how a quiz works, Stacey. You don't give me an answer.
Hint. I'll give you a hint. It's what you put on your boo-boo.
Really?
Neosporin.
Well, I had an idea. No, I haven't.
Not Neosporin.
Rubbing alcohol. Peroxide.
No.
Oh, peroxide.
What do you put on to cover your boo-boo?
Platinum blonde. I don't know. Is that? I'm trying to do a
band. Right. Oh, God, what a dreadful clue.
Oh, that's
that
not a
was.
band. That's an event. You mean?
No, it's a charity group. It's a charity group.
Oh, I thought you meant like the name. I thought you meant the name of the band. So Band Aid, Live Aid. Okay.
Yeah. Right. I'll tell you what. I'll do the next one.
I screwed up mine as well.
I'll do the next one here, and then we'll go back to you. Right. I've got a feeling you're going to get this one. I'm taking you back to 1982. Who duetted with Paul McCartney on the 1982 hit "Ebony and Ivory"?
Oh, obviously,
Stevie Wonder.
Hey,
yay! Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know if you're going to get mine. Maybe
as long as I understand
the
question, I should do just fine.
Hey, I just reading them. I did not like them.
Thinking about a name of a band that does charity. That's why I said all their profits go to charity. It's the band.
I tell you what, if you were presenting Jeopardy, they really would be in jeopardy, wouldn't they?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my God.
All right. What is the name of the cat in the Smurfs?
Oh my
God.
I actually do know this, but I don't know why I know this. Like my brother used to watch them.
Was not a Smurfs guy. I got to be honest.
Okay, then I'll ask you another question then.
Dopey?
No, it was not Dopey. It was Ezreal. But I did know that.
I wouldn't have got that.
Okay.
Looks like I tell you, David, your questions are always better when they come from me. I think you're more in the level.
Please.
I seem to be. I've got better questions. Okay, I think here. What company patented the instant camera in 1986?
Kodak. Polaroid.
I got to take your first answer, I'm afraid. It was Polaroid, but it wasn't Kodak. But
I changed it right away. Is it Polaroid?
I think he got it. He totally got it.
I said it. I corrected myself very quickly.
Yes, there wasn't even a half a second between his changed answer.
Did it?
He didn't, and he didn't lock in the answer. So wasn't locked
Polaroid
in.
was my final answer.
Yes.
I love the way the rules of engagement change.
Well,
every
he's a
time we
friend.
do this.
I'm not, yeah.
I went like this. Kodak, Polaroid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll let you off. Listen, David, we're almost out of time on this. What are you working on at the moment, and when are we likely to be able to see you?
So I just wrapped on a film with Liam Neeson and Zachary Levi called Hotel Toronto. The title's going to change. So look out for that. Off the Grid with Josh Duhamel. We just wrapped on that as well. So we just shot those two movies in the fall. And I'm gearing up to direct a film called The Neglected. It's a script I wrote with a guy named Adam Levine, and I'll let you guys know about that when we get it done. But I'm very excited about that movie. That'll be the fourth one I've directed in the last few years.
Oh my God, that's incredible. I'm so proud of you, honestly. I'm like,
thanks.
I just want to squeeze you. I'm so happy for you, honestly. And and especially since you're so super busy that you've taken the time out of your day. What?
Oh, right.
Yes, this is Daisy.
Doggy time.
Hello. Yes, Daisy. Okay.
So cute.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedule. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. And Daisy's.
And we love Daisy. I'm going to come and visit. I will be in LA
very
soon.
Very chilled
definitely.
out looking canine. Yeah. David, real pleasure to speak to you. Thank you very much indeed for spending some time with us on the podcast. There we go. That's David Lippert. What a great guy. And
guy.
We spoke to him a while back, I seem to remember, and his career was going in the right direction.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's had a bit of a turbo boost since.
I'm like so, when you're like emotionally connected to someone, I just feel so like a sisterly kind of like proud, because he's just used his talent in the right place, and you can see his journey from an actor, a musical theater actor, and then producing and directing, and he's in the space that he loves and he's passionate about. And that's the main thing is to be happy. I think is to be able to do what you love and be passionate about it. You love what you do.
Yeah.
I love what I do, and I think if you feel happy with what you do, you can be just so happy with everything else and what's around you.
And my takeaway from the podcast today, not least some of the great stuff that David came out with, but also your clue for that question where the charity song, when you said it's something you put on your boo-boo, was probably the worst clue I've ever heard. I was going somewhere with that question until you threw the clue in, and then it was over.
For me, I would have easily said Band-Aid with that clue. Like, what else do you put on a boo-boo?
Where's the boo-boo? Yeah, well,
you don't know what a boo-boo is?
Well, in the way you worded it, I thought it was your tits, to be honest with you. Like, and I thought that's what you were talking about. And that's why I thought, is there a charity band called Bra or something? I don't know.
Okay, this is where the sort of American and British thing just...
No, not wrong there.
No, here we put a Band-Aid on a cut.
Right.
Also
so when known as a boo-boo.
Also known as a boo-boo. So when your little kid comes and says, "Mommy, I have a boo-boo," you need to put a Band-Aid on it. Here, you call them plasters, which is super weird because there's no plaster in it. It's just a piece of sticker.
Okay.
So,
we created the language, love. It's as simple as that. Don't be trying to change it round. We know what we're talking about. Okay, well, listen, thank you. David was brilliant.
David was brilliant.
It's great. Is the headband going to become a permanent feature?
No, but now I'm gonna have an indent in my forehead from this. Can you see? Oh yeah, look, I have a line across my forehead. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully
it hides the ones underneath it really well.
Well, thank God tomorrow we're doing a radio show. Oh, you know what? Fuck off.
Well, there you are. Don't mince your words. If there's something on your mind, let me know what it is.
Okay. You told me I have carte blanche. Tomorrow I'm going to bring a swear jar.
A what?
A swearing jar.
A swearing jar?
Yes.
Yeah, well, it looks like you're going to be out of pocket now.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's absolutely right.
Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you very much indeed for watching the Gen-X-Perience. And we shall be back with another guest in the not too distant future. Please do like and subscribe, and we look forward to entertaining you, if that's what you could call it, next time. Thank you. Thanks very much for checking out the Gen-X-Perience podcast. Please do like and subscribe. We look forward to your comments, and if you could give us a 5-star review, that would be really appreciated.